How about this is where the big boys play? Yeah.
I like that. It's just dishonest enough to work.
But what if all our stars have to take a legitimate drug test for steroids?
It's going to be Diesel, no doubt about it. Eliminated! It's Diesel! It's Michaels! It's... No! I can't believe it! 2 years in a row!
Vader is declaring war on every wrestler in the WWF and every official, and that includes you, Mr. McMahon!
What happened to my ear? Why am I the way I am? And why are so many people so frightened of me?
Hello, my name is Bob Bamber and welcome to the Wrestling 20 Years Ago podcast. We're going back in the time machine to January of 1996 for Volume 1 of this month's show. Volume 2 is your WCW show looking at Clash of the Champions along with Randy Savage winning the World Heavyweight title. And Volume 3 is your ECW show looking at ECW House Party. I'm here in Volume 1. We will be joined by Chris Lacey very shortly, but I'm also being joined by Wayne Lythgoe. Wayne, good evening.
Good evening, Bob.
Wayne, kick us off with the news.
The WWF had a series of satirical segments on Raw this month, parodying a number of things about WCW. Titled Billionaire Ted's Wrestling War Room, the weekly skits included actors playing Ted, the Huckster, and the Nacho Man. While the segments were largely ineffectual, a reference to WCW's lack of steroid testing policy made waves in Atlanta. We will have much more on this story on both volumes of this month's show.
Shawn Michaels won the Royal Rumble for the second time in as many years, eliminating Diesel in amongst the final four that included Karma and the British Bulldog. Vader was a noteworthy debutant on the show, although he will be remembered more for an angle that saw him suspended on the Raw the night after. Elsewhere, Brett Hart retained his WWF title against The Undertaker thanks to interference from Diesel, and Goldust defeated Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title. Also on the show, Ahmed Johnson defeated Jeff Jarrett, the Smoking Guns retained their tag titles over the Body Donners, and Duke Druzy defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the pre-match Royal Rumble qualifier of sorts.
Vader was written off television the night after the Royal Rumble, getting involved in a highly effective altercation with Gorilla Monsoon. He went too far with a post-match beatdown of Savio Vega before Monsoon came out. Vader ended up giving Monsoon a Vader bomb before declaring war on every WWF performer and official. The suspension will be enabled him to go away and get surgery on his shoulder. Monsoon was replaced as president by Roddy Piper.
There was mixed business news this month as the WWF recovered from a hugely disappointing pay-per-view figure from the In Your House 5 pay-per-view from last month with a strong house show loop. 0.33 or 76,000 buy rate for In Your House 5 makes it the lowest for any pay-per-view they've ever done, saving grace perhaps being the increase in price. But January saw a string of sellouts or at least very strongly attended events. The only real change in December, is the return of Shawn Michaels. It's a good job as it said the talent was shocked by the payouts from the In Your House 4 pay-per-view from Winnipeg in October, payouts being down between 70% and 90% depending on who you are.
Attempts to get both Dan Severn and Sabu on Royal Rumble failed. Paul Heyman talked or strong-armed Sabu out of doing it, and Severn seemingly turned it down to political issues with the UFC. There is still interest in bringing in the Ultimate Warrior, but evidently nothing has changed on the long list of stumbling blocks preventing his arrival. Jim Cornette is helping out backstage more at shows, although it's said that he doesn't currently have a formal role with the company. And finally, expect the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character to evolve somewhat towards a character similar to Ric Flair. Helmsley spent the longest time of anyone in the Royal Rumble, lasting nearly 50 minutes.
On to the ratings for the month now. Raw didn't air on Christmas Day. Nitro did the usual 2.5 it usually does. New Year's Day saw Raw, headlined by the Raw Bowl, beat out a Hulk Hogan-Ric Flair match on Nitro, 2.6 to 2.5. Raw became the first show of the two to break a 3.0 rating on January the 8th. Nitro still did well with a 2.8. On January the 15th, Nitro did a massive 3.5 to Raw's 2.4, but that victory was short-lived as the Vader Monsoon angle on January the 22nd, combined along with the post-Royal Rumble show, did a 2.9 against Randy Savage's world title win, which did a 2.7, and January the 29th was too late for the time of recording. We will cover that next month.
Okay, guys, we need a new job.
How about uncut, uncensored, uncooked?
No, we've already stolen that one.
How about ripping off unbelievable? You know, like not believable.
Yeah, like Ted's wrestling is not believable. Boys, this is no time to start telling the truth.
We really need something original this time. How about this is where the good old boys play?
Or even just the old boys play.
Who you calling old, brother?
What did I just tell you guys? This is no time to start telling the truth. Yes, Nacho Man.
Let's fly. How about this is where the big boys play? Yeah.
I like that. It's just dishonest enough to work.
But what if all our stars have to take a legitimate drug test for steroids? You don't have to worry about that, brother, because we're not in the WWF anymore.
Yes, this is where the big boys play.
The new WWF generation. There's nothing old or artificial here.
We open up 1996 on New Year's Day with the Raw Bowl, including Vince McMahon's introduction is the promise of the Nacho Man, the Huckster, Scheme Gene and Billionaire Ted. These are people badly dressed as Savage, Hogan, Oakland and Ted Turner. They've even got an American football themed green and white ring match, which looks pretty cool. The Raw Bowl is the tag team tournament. The Smoking Guns come out in white American football-like clothing. They're facing off against Yokozuna and Owen Hart, who are dressed in red. Also in the match, the team in yellow, Razor Ramon and Savio Vega. And Usher gives Razor a bunch of flowers. Razor beats him up for that. Goldust blows the Razor a kiss from by the stage. Out in black are Sid and the Kid. Each team gets one time out, and a team is eliminated when any member of their team is eliminated. The rules, preposterously, even allow for partners to wrestle against each other. The Gun Shakes wrestle each other, then double tag in both Owen and Yokozuna. Yokozuna seems quite up for the fight, Owen less so. The match takes an absolute age and is a proper mess. At one stage, Razor unloads on the Kid, hitting a Razor's edge. DiBiase calls for a timeout. He then distracts the ref while Sid lays out Razor and the Kid pins Razor. We're 15 minutes into the show and that's one elimination down. After the restart, Owen hits the neckbreaker on Billy Gunn. They set for a bonsai drop, but Bart pulls Billy off, tripping Owen in the process and dropping him into the path of the bonsai drop. Owen gets pinned and we're down to Sid and the Kid against the Guns. Razor shoves the Kid onto Sid. The Guns get a quick roll-up pin and retain their titles. The heels are absolutely pissed. Jerry Lawler says his sources have told him that Shawn Michaels' announcement next week is that he'll be retiring. We then get a full replay of the Hogpen match from In Your House 5. Essentially, I don't think they taped enough at the end of the last tapings to get a full run of shows in. So on this show and the next one, we do get matches from the pay-per-view. During the match, we cut to the Randy Savage impersonator doing his Slim Jim spot. 4 brave souls carry King Mabel to the ring. It's all a bit in vain as Diesel beats him in about 10 seconds with a big boot. King invites Diesel to comment. He declines and walks off with Miss Raw Bowl, who's called Ashley, who the King has been flirting with unsuccessfully at ringside all evening. We cut backstage to the Vince Lombardi trophy presentation. Brooklyn Brawler presents the Guns with a trophy with his face on it. The Guns smash the trophy and dump an ice cooler over him. They announce Vader being in the Royal Rumble. We get a great video package showing Vader working out, including him doing a backflip on a trampoline. Next week they're going to be showing us Brett against Davey from In Your House 5. We end the show in the boardroom of Billionaire Ted. Ted says they need more action from their stars. A normal member of the board pulls out a projector and shows a Razor Ramon doing the Razor's Edge. Huckster says he couldn't pull that one off. Nacho Man is then asked if he could do Ahmed Johnson's Tiger Bomb. He says he can't. Huckster even declines to climb the top ropes. At his age, his feet don't leave the ground. Billionaire Ted gets tired of all the no's, so asks them what they can do. Huckster and Nacho get up and do their trademark poses, and the show ends with the line, the new WWF generation, on top of the hill, not over it. We open Raw on January the 8th with a preview of Shawn Michaels' announcement. Hakushi faces off against Jeff Jarrett in the opener. This is actually quite decent for the time it got. Jarrett wins with a figure 4 leg lock. Jim Ross introduces some names confirmed for the Royal Rumble, including Jake the Snake Roberts. He then cuts to Scheme Gene, who teases his hotline. After Ahmed Johnson wins a squash, Jeff Jarrett charged it in with a guitar. Johnson ducked and Jarrett scarpered. Johnson then destroys the guitar. Ted DiBiase said he's been searching in vain for his next $1 million champion. He unveils the Ringmaster, Steve Austin from WCW and ECW, but he's not mentioned as Austin by name. We get to Shawn Michaels' press conference. Michael says he's been advised by his doctors not to compete anymore, but despite this he'll be participating in the Royal Rumble. Preposterously, this gets howls of applause from the so-called press. This is bookended by clips from Jim Ross, who gets interrupted by Scheme Gene, who says he has a great exclusive on an entrant who's going to be in the Royal Rumble. Ross asks Gene to give us one for free, so he does. Vader. We then get comments from Diesel, Razor Ramon and Owen Hart about Shawn Michaels' return. We end the show with an encore viewing of Brett against Davey Boy from In Your House 5. After that, we get comments from The Undertaker and Paul Bearer, and then we return to Billionaire Ted's boardroom. He's searching for a new slogan for his show. They mock the Big Boys Play slogan. Sarah's character suggests that, but then wonders what might happen if their stars might have to take a legitimate drugs test. The clip ends with a narration saying, WWF, there's nothing old or unofficial here, before a message shows on the screen saying, for a drug program advisory, sign on to America Online tonight. We start January the 15th Raw with a brief message about Martin Luther King Day. Owen Hart defeated Marty Jannetty in the opener. Sonny, meanwhile, is doing skits playing pool, wearing not very much. The Ringmaster wins his first Raw match with the $1 Million Dream submission. We get an excellent, slightly soppy video package looking at Shawn Michaels. He says the dream of a little boy to become the WWF champion is still alive in this 30-year-old. Back in Billionaire Ted's war room, he wants to know why he can't buy the WWF and how the WWF can still be better than WCW. He then orders his board to go out and buy some of the WWF New Generation. Vince McMahon does an in-ring interview with Goldust. He wonders whether Goldust is trying to play on the homophobic fears of people, in particular Razor Ramon. Goldust asks McMahon whether that's an extra microphone in his pants or if he's just pleased to see him, and that he's very selective about the men he's after. Backstage, Razor Ramon arrives and he's looking for Goldust. The main event is Isaac Yankem DDS against The Undertaker. It's 1996 and things haven't changed. It's Lawler this time attempting to snatch the urn. Well, in this case, the smelted chain from Bearer. Undertaker sees him off. This match wasn't awful. Yankem is a big wrestler who can at least work, but nothing more special than that. Undertaker wins clean with a tombstone piledriver. Goldust has an interview to end the show with Doc Hendricks. Razor Ramon beats the piss out of him as the show goes off the air, using trash cans and other backstage weapons. Goldust at least got a shot on Razor's groin. We then get a shot of Sonny in the bath. No, I'm not making this up. We get to Razor backstage. He's being calmed down by officials. We then cut back. Razor is back to attacking Goldust. The show ends with the pair outside brawling in the snow. Goldust jumps into a getaway car as the show goes off the air.
Brother Ringmaster!
That belt would rival the crowd.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, man. Back up a little bit, brother. Everybody out there in TV land, I'm going to give you a chance to be somebody. Come on, get the camera on that hand right there. I want everybody out there in TV land to touch your screen and feel what it's like to be destined for success.
Go ahead, King. I got it up there.
Feel what it's like to be born a champion, man.
You better put your hand up there, McMahon.
I didn't come out here just to run my mouth, Brother Love. I'm here to prove every single thing I say. Me and the $1 Million Man talk. I'm in the Royal Rumble, man. I'm going to prove how good the Ringmaster is. After I toss every single one of the WWF superstars over that rope right there, man, I'll be the one getting the shot at the World Wrestling Federation Championship. It doesn't mean anything compared to the $1 Million Belt, of course. But in WrestleMania, man, I'm going to do it all, and you're going to see what the $1 Million Man and the $1 Million Champ are going to accomplish. And then I'll have every single thing that I want out of the WWF. And why is that? Because everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
And we come out of the TV report into the Royal Rumble. I should firstly welcome Chris Lacey to the show. Chris, good evening.
How do, boys?
And Wayne, if you could kick us off with the results for the Royal Rumble.
No problem. Duke the Dumpster Droese defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley by disqualification. Winner being entry number 30 and the loser being entry number 1. Ahmed Johnson defeated Jeff Jarrett by disqualification. The Smoking Guns defeated the Body Donners. Goldust defeated Razor Ramon. Shawn Michaels won the Royal Rumble, with the participants being Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Henry O'Godwin, Bob Backlund, Jerry Lawler, Bob Holly, King Mabel, Jake Roberts, Dory Funk Jr., Yokozuna, 1-2 Free Kid, Taco Amori, Savio Vega, Vader, Doug Gilbert, Squad Team Member 1, Squad Team Member 2, Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, Hakushi, Tatanka, Aldo Montoya, Diesel, Karma, the Ringmaster, Barry Horowitz, Fatu, Isaac Yankum DDS, Marty Jannetty, the British Bulldog, and Duke the Dumpster Droese. The Undertaker defeated Bret Hart by disqualification for the WWF Championship.
That will do that. Chris, what do you think of this show?
One of the better Rumbles. I enjoyed sort of most of the sort of pre-match or the pre-Rumble matches. Like the title match, and the Rumble itself was fairly good.
Why?
I thought it was a mixed bag in all honesty. I thought there was a couple of alright matches. I wouldn't say they were great. I wasn't overly impressed with the Rumble, and I thought the title match was a complete dud in my eyes. But the Rumble being a Rumble, it's always good to watch, just to watch guys getting thrown out. But apart from that, it wasn't one of the best pay-per-views I've ever watched. Yeah,
this is for me, it's a 6 out of 10 show with a lot of 6 out of 10 matches. If you've got 3 hours and you enjoy Royal Rumbles, I'd probably say watch it. And yet equally, I think you could justify skipping this entire show. It's one of those things where stuff happens, but the match finishes don't help. The Rumble match is okay, but it kind of fizzles out. And the main event wasn't all that good. Anyway, we'll come to each match as we get to it. We actually start on the free for all. Wayne mentioned Druzy against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. That match actually happened on the free for all before the event itself. The concept of that match was the winner of the match would go in at number 30 and the loser would go in at number 1. Anyway, we open up backstage with an interview with Vader, who's been joined by Jim Cornette. We get a really good spit-laden Vader promo. He's here to become the next WWF champion. Todd Pettingill is joined by Jake Roberts. He says if people think his snake is big, it's nothing compared to the demons he's had to face. And we open up, it's Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Duke the Dumpster Droese. Droese ducks under a clothesline and flips Hunter over before going for a 10 punch. Hunter hits an atomic drop for running into a big boot. Droese charges into the corner, but his shoulder collides with the ring post. Hunter drives Droose's shoulder into the mat twice. The crowd start a polite Duke, Duke, Duke chant with Droese in an arm submission. Hunter hits him with a running knee. Hunter comes off the top, but takes a big boot to the mouth. Hunter takes a big back body drop and then a hip toss. Droese hits a big power slam. The crowd finally wake up. Droese shouts that it's time to take out the trash. Helmsley slides out of a move, but Droese hits a belly to back before just screaming at Hunter. Droese hits the ref. Helmsley levels Droese with some knuckles and wins the match. After the match, out comes Gorilla Monsoon, who tells referee Tim White what happened. We then go to the video wall to review the decision, and Hunter ends up getting disqualified, and the decision is overturned. Duke the Dumpster Droese will be number 30. Wayne?
I think trying to sell a pay-per-view, I thought they could have put a better match on. Not these two, but the WWF as a whole could have booked a better match. But for what it was, it was okay. I think it served a purpose in storyline more than anything else in regards of the premise of the winner getting number 30, which I think is a great idea. But again, the match is there to sell a pay-per-view, and to watch this and then go off the back and want to buy the pay-per-view, I'd be more inclined to keep my money in my pocket. That was it. It was just, bit of a screwy finish at the end, which I'm sure we'll come on to again at some point during the pay-per-view. But the other thing as well is obviously where they've rolled, the Drosy from. I've not seen him for so long, and then to come out and make an appearance, at the Royal Rumble was just a bit weird.
Chris,
I enjoyed the match. As a sort of free match for pre the main event, I thought it was quite a good little match. I liked how the fact of the finish, with the fact that Hunter cheated. The video wall thing was a bit strange, obviously, to bring out the third official sort of thing and let's review the tape. It's not cricket, but it worked. And the fact that it means that Hunter is going in for longer pleases me, so you think, he's going to have a decent run of the Rumble, and I'd rather see him have a decent run in it than Duke the Drosy.
Where to start with this one? The match was okay. They've got plans for Hunter Hearst Helmsley, but he's still a bit early in the cycle yet, where the crowd aren't particularly reacting to him. Wayne, you're right. Duke the Dumpster Drosy has kind of fallen off the radar for about 6 months. Not that he was ever really particularly a big deal before. And I tried to kind of convey in my notes that the crowd were, I think, a polite chant of Duke was probably about the best they could muster. Chris, it just felt a really, not like, I kind of like the concept. It's a match that has value, and there aren't many matches on TV that have genuine value and genuine consequences beyond, the occasional title match. But why these two guys? They never really explain that. And from a booking standpoint, why Duke Drosy? I've no idea.
Sorry, Bob. They did actually explain it. Sorry, just to come in. They both drew blanks, and the blanks mean that they got this match.
Okay. All right, that explains the first bit. I missed that. Wayne, go on. You're on the call. What about the decision to have Duke draw a blank?
Well, that I don't get then. It's like, like you said, we've not seen him for so long. Yeah, they've got obvious plans for Hunter, so that explains why you put him on here, and storyline purposes you'd get him to go number one, and like Chris said, we're going to get to see him longer in the Rumble, which is great. But I think it would have served more of a purpose if we would have got someone in there who was who would have had a better match with Hunter, as example, and someone that the crowd could invest in winning the overall thing by getting number 30. So, I don't understand why he was involved in it at all. Maybe it's something to do with, I don't know, Hunter Hearst Helmsley and a rich man against a poor man like a bin man or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know also that I'd be telegraphing my number 30. I think maybe, like, the number one and then, like, in the final 3 or 4, maybe, so there's at least a little bit of suspense. I think you could tell when number 29 came out, and it's like, oh, okay, it's Duke Drosy number 30. The crowd kind of settles in. And Chris, also the bizarre thing with the video decision, I mean, Hunter does a promo afterwards and kind of says, what the hell's this all about? We never do this before, which is a perfectly valid point, even though he did try and use heel tactics. It is, it's not that we get these decisions like that very often. And then the fact you get onto the main show itself and there's about 3 disputable finishes and Gorilla Monsoon is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, there is a massive thing of inconsistency. If they'd have done this for the whole night, had the video ref, have Gorilla come back with no, this is what I've seen, it could be a new thing that they go forward with and do. The fact that they drop it after the first match is always a bit worrying. But going back to what you said about having Duke Drosy in there, they could have quite easily put in an Owen, a Hakushi, a 1-2-3 kid or something like that in the opener and sort of had a bit of a bigger name and you'd have probably got a better match out of it. But do you want them doing double duty?
Yeah, I think where Hakushi's concerned, I mean, I agree, you need to find a babyface, and as we're going to discuss later on, a lot of their babyfaces are tied up in other things, and I don't think I'd be doing Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Shawn Michaels in this spot either. But, there's that they're a better. I think they're a. You would hope. You would. I mean, we had Bob Holly and Hunter Hearst Helmsley about 6 months ago. I want to say 5 or 6 months ago. That was half decent match. That's the kind of thing you could have done here. The match was alright. I don't know how we've done about 8 minutes on this, so I think we'll just move on. Where are we next? Here we go. Shawn Michaels comes out. This is kind of long gone after the match. He's giving it large. He says he's coming in when he wants and he's leaving when he wants. He says the fans gave to him when he needed it. So as far as he's concerned, the Heartbreak Kid and his clique, the fans, have a destiny to fulfill at the Royal Rumble. We get an interview backstage with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's quite rightly saying the instant replay rule is not a thing of the WWF. He says he's going to stick it in the face of Gorilla Monsoon when he wins the Royal Rumble. And we move on to the pay-per-view itself. We open up with quite a sight of Sunny in a bath. She says viewer indiscretion is advised. Vince McMahon is on the call with Mr. Perfect, and we open up with Jeff Jarrett versus Ahmed Johnson. Jarrett comes out carrying a guitar. We come flying out the blocks. Johnson fires Jarrett off the ropes, but Jarrett slinks into the outside. Jarrett wants to hip toss Johnson, who blocks it before hitting one of his own. Jarrett shouts, "I'm going to give him a wrestling lesson." Johnson levels him with a clothesline and a shoulder tackle. Johnson does a lovely slam with a howl, but does seem to land hard on his knees. Jarrett ducks under a Johnson tackle, who gets his hands stuck in the ropes. Jarrett takes advantage. Jarrett flings Johnson into the ring steps. Jarrett does a quartet of double axe handles from each of the four corners. On the fourth time, Johnson catches him and then flattens him with the right arm. Johnson knocks Jarrett to the outside, then hits a lovely tope. Johnson then goes for a somersault dive from the top, but Jarrett moves for locking in the figure four leg lock. Johnson escapes, but Jarrett is in control. Jarrett then comes off the top rope with his guitar and just drops it over Johnson's head. The guitar breaks cleanly and Jarrett is disqualified. Johnson briefly sells the attack before charging up the aisleway. Chris?
Ahmed Johnson is a beast. It's the one thing I remember came out of this. It was just like absolutely monstrous. And I quite like the fact of how he sold the guitar shot with, it put him down, but he got up and went straight after Jarrett. It shows that he is this raging beast of a man that will throw people around for fun.
Why?
Yeah, he's a beast, but I don't think he's ready for the role that he's in, because it seems that, they're giving him some kind of push, and I really don't think he's ready for it. I think he struggles with the basics. I think he's still really, really green. His movement and moveset just don't look smooth at all. By no way should he be doing the moves that he was doing in there. Like the somersault off the top rope was ridiculous. If he would have actually hit Jeff Jarrett with that, then I would have not liked to have been Jeff Jarrett, because that was frightening. Just simple things like running of the ropes and the spine buster. The part where he got his hand caught in the ropes, I don't even think that was meant to happen. I think that was just him no ring awareness, not knowing what's going on. And other simple things like, he maybe blame Jarrett for this one. He was holding his knee and selling his knee, and then Jarrett starts attacking the other knee. That's obviously, the rant over about Ahmed Johnson. But the match itself, there was a lot going on. It wasn't slow-paced. There was always something happening there, which, if it's going to be, a rubbish match, which you'd probably say this was, you want stuff to be happening all the time, and you can't say that wasn't happening. Jarrett was either getting beat down or trying to run away, and then obviously the guitar shot at the end.
Yeah, I would agree on a lot of the sentiments on Johnson. He is a very powerful guy. He is clearly instructed to try and convey this powerhouse type wrestler. And some of the stuff he does looks very good. The problem is that he is pushing the line so far of trying to look destructive. He is ludicrously uncoordinated. That move where he lands on his knees, where he's got no reason at all, kind of slams Jarrett and, just can't land himself correctly. It's a dangerous style. I completely agree that there doesn't seem to be a lot of transition. He's a bit like the Giant at the moment in that sense, in that he's got the basics down, but when it comes to putting together 4 or 5 moves into a string and a sequence that makes sense, he just doesn't have it yet. That being said, he's quite watchable. Of all the baby faces they're pushing, I think he's the kind of guy that's going to be quite easy to get behind, just because, as you guys kind of alluded to, he's just, a no shit babyface, which is quite nice in that, very easy to get behind. But yeah, the match was alright. It's one of those things, like if you're in the business of trying to protect Jeff Jarrett, I don't know why you do the match. We discussed the Jarrett thing before when he left about 6 or 7 months ago, and kind of one of the considerations over Jarrett's, allegedly leaving was that he wasn't happy with how his character was being portrayed. I don't know necessarily that he returned for this, or even why he returned, I suppose, but I don't know if this helps either of them. It's the kind of match where if you're interested enough in protecting Jarrett, don't put him in the match. Put Johnson against somebody else and put Jarrett against somebody else, or just put one of them in the Rumble. It was fine. As I say, 6 out of 10 match. It was alright. Anyway, there's an interview with Todd Pettengill. He calls Vader unproven, which is, some statement. It doesn't look like Vader time to me. It looks like Big Daddy Cool time. Next up, it's the Body Donners, Skip and Zip, with Sonny versus the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart for the tag titles. Dr. Tom Pritchard, who is Zip, looks quite a bit different since we saw him in ECW last month. He's got short, bleach blonde hair. And if you look very, very closely, you might notice that the camera is focusing in on Sonny, but only if you look really hard. They don't overdo that at all. Anyway.
Only once or twice.
Yeah, quick cuts. Skip hits a nice head scissors takedown on Billy. Billy responds with a back body drop, but Skip sends into the outside. Bart also gets sent out. The Donners team up on Billy, but Bart sends them to the outside and Billy does a big dive onto the pair of them. The Guns team up on Skip in their corner. Zip's attempts to salvage the situation don't work either. Sonny starts shaking her ass at the fans. She's grabbing the attention of Bart. Zip does a couple of chops on Bart to little effect. Bart press slams him. Skip gets a blind tag and hits a nice quick clothesline. Billy gets a blind tag and the Guns hit a lovely double team slam. Sonny distracts the referee on the apron, but Billy knocks her off as he comes off the ropes. The fans react negatively to that and Billy goes to the outside to tend to her. Billy pushes his luck a bit and the Donners start attacking him. Skip hits a nice dive to the outside onto Billy. Skip suplexes Zip onto Billy in the ring for a 2. Zip then hits a gut-wrench powerbomb on Skip, who lands on Billy. Billy rallies in a chinlock but cannot get to Bart. The Donners hit a lovely double-team flapjack for a 2. Zip then crashes into Skip while running the ropes. Billy runs the gauntlet and gets to his tag team partner Bart. Billy hits a body slam, goes to the top, hits a double-team leg drop, but Sonny has the ref distracted. Skip jumps off the top, turns the pin over, but Bart manages to kick out. The Body Donners then set up for a double suplex, but he nails one of them with a spear. Bart pins the other, and the Guns retain. Wayne.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this match. Rumble aside, I'd probably say it was match of the night as well. I thought it was a really nice opening from Billy and Skip. I liked the move from Bart where he did the slingshot on the Body Donners to the outside, and then Billy flying straight over the rope. I thought that was pretty neat. And the match itself, I thought there was some really good double tag moves from both teams, and Sonny earning a crust on the outside, whether she's obviously trying to flirt with obviously the Smoking Guns, doing necessary distractions, or whether it was the double cross with Billy. I thought it was it was all necessary and needed in that sense. And I think it was the right move to keep the titles on the Guns, but the Body Donners themselves, I think quite a good pairing and definitely has potential. I mean, they will only and really should only be a mid-card tag team, but that goofy mid-card tag team is quite funny. I like the spot where they bumped into each other, and things like that during matches is something that will probably put a smile on my face.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, the entire tag team thing is mid-card. You know, the Smoking Guns are mid-card. They don't really have any other challenges, to be fair. I think they're a mid-card tag team match. I think they're just...
Sorry, when I said mid-card, I mean, you know, they'll probably not hold the titles. They'll probably not have a long run for the titles. They'll probably never really chase the titles. They're just going to be in there for, you know, for matches to, you know, put smiles on faces.
Well, it's funny why you just said that, Chris, but I thought the Body Dons were going to win this.
I have to admit, I was struggling with this match, because I was more interested in what Sonny was doing, because that's clearly where they were trying to make us go with the TV direction of this match. It was much more interested in what Sonny was doing on the outside. I quite like the Body Donners as a tag team. As we were saying last year with the end of year awards, that tag teams in WWF and WCW were really struggling. So to see them go straight into January and start giving us some new tag teams to work with teams we already have is always a good idea. Between these four all together seem to have a really good chemistry. I liked how Sonny was getting used in the match. And I did actually think that Sonny was going to cause enough of a distraction for the Body Donners to get the win. You know, especially when she did that bit when they knocked her off the edge of the apron and they went out and Billy went out to help her up. I was expecting the Body Donners to get the quick, cheap win there and then her to do the whole jump up. Yeah, I'm fine. And go out with the titles. So the future's looking bright for the tag team division if we're in January and we're already getting new teams.
Well, we've got two. I mean, you know, let's not throw our drinks. Yeah, sort of throw our drinks in the air and start celebrating. You know, we're a bit of a way off being finished. Chris, why is Sonny hanging out with two losers like the Body Donners?
Who knows?
I've no idea.
Maybe they'll explain it on TV at some point on why she's with Skip and Zip, because I don't think since these two, well, because obviously she came in with Skip initially, but they've not really explained why she's with them. What, is just a cheerleader and he's a gym monkey? Why they're together, I don't know. Maybe because...
Well, I think they explain it on the way in correctly, on the base they were here to, you know, show people, flaunt their bodies and, you know, rub it in the faces of the fat people who are watching at home. But it's like, he's a loser and she's, you know, a 10. Like, why isn't she working with a better act? I don't think it makes sense from a kayfabe perspective. I don't think it makes sense out of kayfabe. It just, I don't know. Wayne, anything on that?
No, I don't. I probably agree with you. As I said, you know, they're quite goofy and you probably expect more from her. But, you know, if she's going to be some kind of, you know, manager, it's probably going to be tag team, and we're probably going to need more tag teams out there for her to start managing.
Yeah, go on, Chris, sorry.
The only thing I can think of is if only we had a heel Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It doesn't work out while he's a babyface, but yeah, that'd be the... And the other option is, if Diesel is going to turn, and he's still really a babyface at the moment, although his reactions are a little bit mixed. I don't know how Sonny and Paul Bearer would interact, but I kind of would like to see it. But yeah, I think Diesel might be a decent pairing as well if Diesel is going to move that way, which he probably should. But yeah, she is a upper mid-card to lower main event level manager, and these two are a mid-card tag team, and they look like a mid-card tag team. That being said, this match was okay. I mean, I think we've got to give credit to Skip and to, you know, Pritchard for being able to team together so quickly and look like they've been doing it for a while. Okay, part of that is the look and part of that is Pritchard, you know, lopping off his hair and dyeing it bleach blonde. He looks ridiculous, actually. But in terms of their tag team act, it was very, very effective. They were doing some good moves. They had some good timing and some good chemistry, which you don't necessarily have to expect from a team that's just been put together. But it's just a problem that the Guns are the best tag team they've got, and I don't think people really care about the Smoking Guns enough, just because I don't think there's enough tag teams for them to stand out. It's hard for, you know, when you consider, okay, they had a tag match We had the Raw Bowl at the beginning of January, and we had, Sid and the Kid involved in that as well, Owen Hart and Yokozuna. But Owen Hart and Yokozuna is a tag team that's kind of flaking out, and they're beginning their breakup as well. They've done that this month. Sid has just kind of disappeared. I think he's injured. So it's not much of a tag team division, and therefore people just don't really care. But the match was okay. If you like tag team wrestling, you'll like this match. It just isn't anything to write home about. We then get a rerun of the Billionaire Ted segment, or one of them anyway. Goldust comes out, accompanied by a woman who is smoking a cigar. This is actually his real life wife, who on Monday Night Raw the following night gets christened as Marlena. She isn't named at this point anyway. This entrance takes forever. Razor Ramon comes out and gets a lot of pyro. Goldust gets on his knees, crouched in the corner. And it's Goldust with Marlena versus Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title. Razor flicks his toothpick at Goldust. Razor starts working the arm. Razor goes for a waistlock. Goldust reverses it and then rubs his hands up Razor's chest, which pops a reaction. The crowd rally behind Razor. Goldust breaks a count in the corner before rubbing his hand over Razor's face. Once again, Razor reacts. Goldust escapes an armlock before leathering Razor with the right hand. Razor does a takedown, then just starts slapping him on the back of the head. Goldust returns to his feet and Razor hits 2 hard slaps on him. Goldust retreats to the outside, then uses Marlena at ringside as a human shield. We get some quick takedown exchange before Razor nails the right hand. Goldust blows him a kiss. Goldust puts on the brakes after being flung into the ropes. Razor hits him hard with a clothesline to the outside. Goldust uses Marlena as a shield again. Razor picks her up out of harm's way, but Goldust runs him over before driving him into the apron. The crowd rally behind him. Goldust fires Razor off of 3 turnbuckles before hitting a running bulldog. He then bounces Razor off of the top rope into a belly-to-back suplex. The valet blows some gold dust, in this case glitter, into Razor's eyes. Goldust slams his head into the canvas while hitting a swinging neck breaker. Goldust applies a long sleeper. Razor eventually gets to his feet, backs the ref into the corner, and then kicks Goldust in the bollocks. Razor blocks a right, hits 3 of his own, for hitting a lovely one-handed slam for a 2. He then hits a fall-away slam for another near fall. Razor crotches Goldust on the top, hits a belly to back from the second rope. Marlena gets in the ring, distracts the ref. The 1-2-3 Kid jumps on the top rope, hits a spin kick. Goldust pins Razor and wins the Intercontinental title. Chris, where was Gorilla Monsoon?
Exactly what I was going to sort of wonder with, if he's doing video analysis for the opener, where is it now?
Because this is a championship match. This isn't a throwaway match. This isn't anything of that. It's a championship match. It changed hands thanks to interference off of a distraction, and Gorilla Monsoon was... who knows? Go on, Chris, what are your thoughts on this match?
I really, really like this match. I think these two have got a really good chemistry together. The styles they both work mesh really well together, and I'm hoping to see more of these two together, but we know that we're probably not, with the fact that 1-2-3 Kid got himself involved, that obviously Razor will be feuding with him more than he will with Goldust. But I would definitely want to see these two go at it again.
Wayne?
I've probably got to disagree with Chris on this one because I didn't enjoy this at all. I was, at the start, I was there, expecting Razor would come out, all guns blazing, looking to kill Goldust, and it just seemed quite slow-paced in that sense. I think I probably didn't enjoy this match as I thought I was going to do, because knowing Razor, what he's like, and the matches he's had in the past, and what Dustin Runnels is like, it's... I was expecting that it would be a match that I'd probably sit there and, avidly watch and enjoy. But, probably it's more the character of Goldust and what he's about. And that's probably why he's not wrestling, how I thought he probably would do. It's, probably in that sense all over the character, and that's probably the reason why I didn't enjoy the match as much as I thought I was. But yeah, another screwy finish. I think that's 3 out of the 4 matches that we've had now where they've ended in either a switch over on the decision or a disqualification. So I think WWF are starting to turn into WCW more than what they anticipated.
I've got one more to come. Yeah, this is one of those matches that told a better story than the actual action suggested. The action was a bit too lumpy is the wrong word. I don't know where I came with that from. It's a bit too. It's not a particularly match that flows very well. It's not a match that particularly tells a coherent in-ring story from a move-to-move standpoint. That being said, I thought if you actually look at the story they were telling, I think they did quite a good job from Goldust finally finding a way, and there have been complaints about his in-ring mannerisms at house shows. People have been complaining about him kind of feeling himself up almost, things like that. So there is a line that you've got to watch. But one of my criticisms of him a few months ago was you come in with this really wacky out there character and then you get in the ring and you're wrestling like Dustin Rhodes. He wasn't doing that here, certainly not in a way that I think anyone would notice. And I like the fact that one, he was doing all of these quite outlandish things, including putting his female manager in harm's way, which is an incredibly heel thing to do. But I also like the fact that it clearly was getting to Razor. That was the kind of fun part of the story, was that Razor was struggling with his emotions. At one point where he kind of traps the referee in the corner, inadvertently almost, and takes advantage by, doing the kind of the reverse kick to Goldust's groin. That was really effective. So yeah, I don't know about the finish. I don't know about the title change. I guess we'll at least say it makes sense in that they want to try and get Goldust over as a character. Him having the championship, it's gold, kind of makes a bit of sense. And they want to pivot into this 1, 2, 3 Kid Razor Ramon feud that will never seem to end. It makes sense. Yes, we've got the thing with Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah, I don't think we said what needs to be said. But Chris, your thoughts on kind of this evolution of Goldust? I'm intrigued, if nothing else.
As you said, when he first came in, he was very much Dustin in a gold suit, whereas now he's very much changed his mannerisms, changed his wrestling style a lot. There is a bit more of the touchy-feely in there. I think that the way that he's doing this and the way that he's sort of giving himself over to the character more than sort of just trying to be him as he was, will benefit him in the long run, because obviously it shows that he's got more to him. And if they do want to drop the Goldust character at some point and bring him back out as Dustin, he can wrestle a completely different style, and sort of it shows the two sides of what he can do. I think if they were really unbelievably clever, why not have him play them both at the same time? That'd be fun. If he was Dustin Rhodes and Goldust, like split personality or something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are struggling to tell the most basic coherent stories, so this would be far beyond anything they're doing at the moment. That'd be a hell of a lot of fun. I think he could pull it off, but equally, I don't think that Vince McMahon wants to put a Rhodes on television, so there's that. What are your thoughts on Goldust?
No, I mean, yeah, the characters, it seems to just be going one step further each week slash month with his character development. So I'm enjoying the evolution of this character and seeing where it's going.
Dr. Jeff Unger says Shawn Michaels is 100% ready. We then get comments from various competitors ahead of the Rumble match. What we'll do with the Rumble, I'll rattle through the competitors. I'll split it into kind of quarters, so I'll save my voice a little bit. It's only reading for about 5 minutes, and then we'll cut to opinions throughout the match. And it's the 1996 Royal Rumble. The entrants are in order: Hunter Helmsley, Henry O. Godwin, Bob Backlund, Jerry the King Lawler, Bob Holly, King Mabel, Jake the Snake Roberts, Dory Funk Jr., Yokozuna, the 1, 2, 3 Kid, Tako Imori, Savio Vader, Doug Gilbert, Squat Team member number 1, Squat Team member number 2, Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, Hakushi, Tatanka, Aldo Montoya, Diesel, Karma, the Ringmaster, Barry Horowitz, Fatu, Dr. Isaac Yankum, DDS, Marty Jannetty, the British Bulldog, and at number 30, Duke the Dumpster, Druzy. So I will find my way back to the top of my notes, and we start with Hunter Helmsley, as we know, coming out at number 1. Out at number 2, it's Henry O. Godwin. They get to work straight away. Hunter unloads on him in the corner. Godwin levels him with a right hand and a big back body drop. Out at number 3 is Bob Backlund. Backlund actually saves Helmsley from elimination by going after Godwin. That alliance is short-lived as Backlund goes after Hunter next. Jerry the King Lawler is out at number 4. King comes out and starts trying to work some order. The crowd chant Burger King it in. King grabs Godwin's slop, but Godwin gets it off him, and all three men dive through the ropes in an incredibly well choreographed move to the outside. Godwin launches the slop to the outside, and it covers Lawler, but also some members of the crowd. Number 5 is Bob Holly, number 6 is King Mabel, and number 7 is Jake the Snake Roberts, who is not surprisingly accompanied by a snake. The snake is absolutely huge. The ring empties again. The snake gets dumped on Lawler before quite brilliantly, right on cue, returning to his bag. And number 8 is Dory Funk Jr. Vince McMahon talks up as the former NWA champion. He says Terry Funk was invited to the Rumble too, but he's watching from Germany. Dory Funk looks every bit the 54 years old he is. Still no eliminations at this stage, although Lawler has disappeared from viewing, selling the snake attack. The crowd are chanting DDT, DDT, and Lawler is under the ring. Chris, 8 men in, what are your thoughts so far?
I like the fact that they did the spot with Jake bringing out that absolutely massive snake. Because if I'd have seen the snake that size, I think I'd have run too. That was a big boy. I like the fact that King seems to have decided he's going to run away and is hiding under the ring. And it's been a sort of fairly steady start. The sort of slop moment being the big high point in the first sort of 10 people. Wouldn't want to be in the front row though.
No. Wayne, thoughts on the opening 8?
Yeah, same as what Chris says, really. It was probably more of a spot fest than anything else, the one with Jay the Snake, and yeah, just to carry on saying what you guys are saying, that snake was massive. It probably ate about 15 Damians, it was that big. It was just humongous. I couldn't get over how the size of it. And then, yeah, obviously with the slop as well, it just seemed it was more, spot fest than anything, and, yeah, no complaints so far.
Yeah, I will comment on the end about the star power or lack thereof. And, it did, I think they did well to get enough, in terms of the first 8 guys, I thought, we've Bob Holly was probably the low point, but in terms of getting, Backlund, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Lawler, Mabel, Jake Roberts, Dory Funk, you're thinking, well, there's more. There is more name power here than I would say if you pulled an average 8 guys from the roster. I would say there's more name power here. As we kind of find out, they do blow their load a little bit early as the match goes on. Anyway, out at number 9, it's Yokozuna. He eliminates Bob Backlund. He then goes after Mabel because we need to see that face off again. Mabel squashes Yokozuna and Godwin in the corner. That's a hell of a lot of mass. The crowd chant DDT again, and Mabel does a splash on Godwin. The 1-2-3 Kid is out at number 10. He's chased down the aisleway by Razor Ramon. They run around the ring. Referees and officials hold Razor back. The crowd rally behind the bad guy, and Funk does an airplane spin on the Kid in the ring. Number 11 is Takao Imori from All Japan. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. Vince McMahon doesn't really give any bill. They haven't really built him on television. Roberts unloads on Yokozuna even before flooring him for the 3rd time. Savio Vega is out at number 13. He levels Mabel with a spinning back kick. Yokozuna eliminates Mabel. Jake Roberts eliminates Imori. Out at number 13 is Vader. Savio Vega eliminates Dory Funk. Vader then starts levering Vega. Number 14 is Doug Gilbert from the USWA. Again, another guy just came in on no real kind of build. Roberts DDT Savio, which gets a big pop. Vader then levels him with the right, and Roberts gets eliminated. At number 15 is squad team member number 1. Vader hits a big choke slam on Gilbert. He then eliminates him, and then eliminates squad team member 1. Wayne, 15 men in. Quick thoughts at this stage?
Who the hell is squad team member? That was my initial thought, but seeing Vader in there, going heavy on Savio Vega was quite nice to see, and Razor chasing after 1-2-3 Kid. That's what he should have been like with Goldust right at the start of that match. There's just my initial thoughts. Yeah,
I remember, interesting little tidbit. This is Razor Ramon's kind of 4th Royal Rumble pay-per-view, never appeared in the Rumble. I remember, he's been in title matches every year. Chris?
I love Vader. Just seeing it, because obviously we've seen lots of him for WCW stuff. Just seeing him coming down, just battering people. It pleases me. And there's enough fodder in this ring at the minute to take some whippings. And the way that Jake went out of the ring after that punch was glorious.
Yeah, not much more to add. It's great to see Vader. Out at number 16 is squad team member number 2. They have number 1 walking back, number 2 walking out, and then number 1 spins around, and they both meet on the ramp. And they, cause it gets a bit confusing because they're twins, they both try and get in the ring, they struggle. Vader fights them both off anyway. Vader eliminates one, Yokozuna eliminates the other. And we've got Vader, Helmsley, Yokozuna, Holly, Vega, and the kid in the ring, and Lawler, we think, still underneath the ring. Those are the guys still in the match at this stage. Number 17 is Owen Hart. Vader whips Yokozuna into Savio in the corner before crushing Vega there himself. Number 18 is Shawn Michaels. Vader eliminates Savio Vega. So I don't have to keep saying those names back to back again. Vader and Yokozuna exchange slaps. Vader takes his mask off, which gets the pop. Cornette cannot bear 2 of his guys going at it. The 2 get by the ropes. Shawn takes a run up and eliminates them both, which gets a huge pop from the crowd. Shawn then eliminates the kid. We're down to Shawn, Hunter, Owen, Holly and Lawler, who's still underneath the ring. Number 19, it's Hakushi. Vader levels Yokozuna on the outside before climbing back in the ring and going after Shawn Michaels. Vader then throws Michaels over the top, but they're saying he's not been eliminated as Vader is no longer in the match. Vader then throws Helmsley and Owen out too. Gorilla Monsoon gets in the ring, but he's here now, and orders Vader to the back. Refs and Cornette try and calm him down. Vader eventually walks off. Number 20 is Tatanka. Michael sends Cornette to the outside. Hakushi hits a lovely springboard back elbow to Owen. Hakushi almost eliminates Michaels, who ends up clinging on. Number 21 is Aldo Montoya. Michaels gets knocked through the ropes. He goes looking for Lawler under the ring and he pulls him out. Lawler gets dragged out and pulls a load of cable spools with him. Montoya and Lawler get eliminated. Number 22 is Diesel. Probably gets the second biggest pop of the Rumble match. Diesel eliminates Tatanka straight away. Diesel and Michaels bump into each other. Diesel levels him with the right and Shawn returns the favour. Chris?
First thing I have to say is, how the hell did Shawn Michaels manage to put out both Vader and Yoko at the same time?
Well, Vader is at least top heavy. I can imagine if you got underneath Vader, given his height and weight distribution in proximity to the ropes, it wouldn't be that difficult. But yeah, Yokozuna, I guess you have to rely on Vader, collapsing the ropes so far that he fell over with him. But yeah, it was an impressive spot, and fair play to all involved, because it didn't look unrealistic.
No, and obviously Monsoon coming in and berating Vader will play out later in the month, but it's a good little bit of story to start with. And with who's left in, with your Owens, Hunter, Shawn, it's a good few sort of workers in there that looks like they could actually sort of pull the back end of the Rumble through.
Wayne, are we at the point now where we were kind of like last year, where they've involved a lot of their big names in angles, but it's to the overall detriment of the names that are left? They've used up too much of their star power too early on. Is that something you'd agree with?
What, in the actual Rumble itself?
Yeah, like we've had Vader and kind of Yokozuna gone. We've lost Jake Roberts. We've lost Backlund. A lot of the name power in the early goings of the match have gone, and there isn't enough to replace it.
No, but like Chris says, I think we've got enough in there now to work the back end of this Rumble and still make it watchable at the same time.
Yeah, and I suppose the other counterpoint to all of that is, at least with the other big names out, we can focus on Diesel and Shawn Michaels. So I suppose there is that. Number 23 is Karma. Michaels does a 10 punch on Holly in the corner. Karma ducks a Diesel punch and Diesel nails Shawn. Out at number 24, it's the Ringmaster. McMahon does mention him by being Steve Austin this time. Ringmaster eliminates Bob Holly. They're crediting Holly with a surprisingly long run in the match. Out at number 25 is Barry Horowitz. Diesel just chucks Helmsley over the top. 26 is Fatu. Owen picks up Michaels in a suplex position, suplexes him onto the apron, but Michaels drags him over. Neither man is eliminated. Number 27 is Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS. Horowitz charges at Owen Hart, who dumps him over. Owen then kicks Michaels, but Michaels eliminates him. Number 28 is Marty Jannetty. Jannetty goes straight after Michaels and they exchange rights. They both hit each other at the same time and go down. Perfect attempts are bad. They're rocking them joke, which falls a bit flat. Number 29 is the British Bulldog. Bulldog eliminates Jannetty. Ringmaster and Fatu start exchanging rapid rights. Ringmaster then gets eliminated. Yankum eliminates Fatu, and we're down to Bulldog, Karma, Yankum, Diesel, and Sean. Number 30, of course, is Duke the Dumpster Druzy. The crowd couldn't be any flatter for his introduction. Michaels and Bulldog go through the ropes and ball to the outside. They're both still in it. Owen Hart comes out and starts attacking Sean. Sean drop kicks Yankum over the top, and Karma and Diesel eliminate Druzy. The final four is Diesel, Karma, Sean, and Bulldog. Sean slides onto the Bulldog and sends him out. Diesel eliminates Karma. Sean then super kicks Diesel over the other side of the ring. And Shawn Michaels is the winner of the 1996 Royal Rumble. After the match, Diesel is not happy. Doc Hendricks tries to get a word. Diesel levels Bulldog before returning to the ring. Sean shows his arse to the fans. Diesel and Sean face off. Diesel signals for a high five and Sean completes it. Sean high fives fans at ringside, but Diesel looks gutted. Wayne?
I thought the ending was just out of nowhere. It was I think from when Druzy come in, I think he must have been about he come in at number 30, and it was probably about a minute and a half, and the Rumble was over. I just thought it just ended far too sudden in my eyes. Sean, probably the inevitable winner in all honesty, with him obviously getting pushed as the face for the back end of 95. You know, we probably knew that this was going to happen, and then go on to face whoever at WrestleMania is probably the good spot to be in as a face. But the Rumble itself, you know, like you said, they probably went top, or should I say bottom heavy with all the star power at the start, and then, you know, all these names that, you know, probably explains why there was no pops at all for them, and, you know, squad members and Doug Gilbert, for example, and the Taco Amore, was it?
Yeah.
Yes. So, you know, people like that, it just shows how, you know, the lack of depth that they've got in this roster. You know, the Rumble is, you know, as much as Sean won it, I think this Rumble was just all Vader. The only negative comment I'd probably have on it is we should have had a lot of guys in Vader come in and eliminate at least half of the guys that were that was in the ring, and he should have been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he did well in dominating.
Yeah, he did clear 4 people, but I know what you mean. He didn't feel like that at the end of the match.
And it wasn't 4 in one fell swoop either, was it? It was probably 1 or 2, and then a little break, and then another one. If he would have gone in and cleared 5 guys in one go, I thought it would have been, you know, a lot better in that. The Vader and Yoko squaring off and Cornette going wild at the ringside did make me chuckle, and them going at it. Do I really want to see them work against each other? Probably not. Do I want to see them in a tag team? Yeah, but I probably would do. I think, you know, they'd be, you know, a really good force in the WWF. And like Chris said before, if they're putting more tag teams together, you know, I think these guys would be a really good tag team. But on the same side, I probably wouldn't want to see Vader in a tag team. I'd probably I'd want to see him be an absolute monster in the WWF. But, you know, with him being written out and depending how his shoulder is, we'd probably have to wear that up there.
Morbid curiosity, I'd kind of like to see Vader and Yokozuna, just once. Anyway, Chris, would you have given Sean and Diesel longer at the end?
Possibly. But at the same point, I liked the fact that it was a quick super kick that put him out. Because obviously if, for Sean to beat Diesel in this situation of a Rumble, it needed to either be fluky or something sort of using his speed, because obviously you think Diesel is the powerhouse of the two of them. He would grab him, throw him out. Wayne was saying there earlier with the lack of star power. Yes, at the minute there is a lack of star power, but I think this Rumble will build people. Bob Holly had a really good run in the Rumble. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, another really good run in the Rumble.
Yeah, 48 minutes for him, yeah.
Karma looked good. Owen looked good. Bulldog was not in there very long, but sort of looked a sort of, you know, a person to pay attention to. You know, I'm thinking this whole new generation as a bubble term, maybe we need to let there not be the big names that we already know and there to be the massive pops to start with, and let these guys grow and become the new stars, the new Hogans, the new Macho Mans, the people that have left, and grow them from the start. They've all got to start somewhere, and maybe we're not getting what we did in the 80s where they come in already a name and then made a bigger name. They've got to start at the bottom and make themselves. And I think that was what this Rumble showed, that there are a lot of guys in their roster that, given the right characters, given the right time, given, if they put the effort in, that they could actually do something with a lot of these people.
Yeah, undoubtedly a lot of talent. Whether it's all been used correctly is a discussion for another time. Yeah, this wasn't a bad Rumble match. In terms of, I think, so I'll give them credit for, given the lack of star power they had across the board, they covered for it pretty well. I mean, you kind of wonder, was it really worth bringing out a 54-year-old Dory Funk? I don't think it was. I don't know what you were paying him. I probably don't think it was worth it. No disrespect to Dory Funk, although, you're 54, Dory, come on. If he can get a paycheck at 54, more power to him, I suppose. But yeah, like that didn't mean anything. Like Jake Roberts was a really good introduction. He was one of the most over guys in the match. And yeah, as much as I perhaps, don't love the front loading of the talent they did have, it did mean that the back end you had Diesel and Shawn as the two standout guys. But I kind of feel like if you'd have built that a bit more, you perhaps could have done a stare down. I don't disagree, what they did was quite good. I just wonder whether if they'd have had a back and forth for a few minutes, whether you really would have whipped the crowd up. But equally, I won't be overly critical of what was a very effective finish with Shawn. Anyway, we move on to the main event. It's The Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. As Undertaker is walking out, he meets Diesel halfway up the ramp. Diesel shoves Bearer, and Undertaker and him start fighting. Officials try to break them apart. Diesel says, "I ain't afraid of the dark." Diesel then gets sent to the back, and out comes Bret. Vince says this is Bret's 43rd pay-per-view appearance. Bloody hell. Bret evades some rights and goes after Undertaker in the corner, who looks less than impressed. Taker unleashes some hard strikes of his own. Taker lifts up Bret for a two-handed choke, then drops into the mat. Taker smothers Bret's face with his hand as a submission, and he's all over him in the early goings. Bret keeps getting his foot on the ropes, but Bearer keeps knocking them off. Undertaker walks the top rope before dropping down on Bret. He then locks in a facelock again. Bret finally rallies with a big boot before sending Taker to the outside and hitting a flying crossbody. Bret doesn't let up, hitting Taker with some rights. Taker catches Bret and then drives him back first into the ring post. He tries for a second time, but Bret slides off and rams his head into it. Taker then goes for an Irish whip to Bret into the steps, who reverses it. Given that it appeared Taker bore the impact with his knees, that looked especially painful. Back in the ring, Bret has his control for the first time in the match, working over Taker's leg. Taker is struggling. Bret locks in the figure four. There's a small amount of booing from the crowd, I think. Taker almost gets pinned, just getting his shoulders up in time. Perfect makes the point that Taker's long legs may make him more vulnerable to the hold. Taker then flips it over, and Perfect says that that's the advantage of having long legs. Bret locks in another leg submission. Taker fights off, but Bret responds by trying to rip the mask off. Bret goes for another long leg submission. Taker rallies by smashing his free leg over Bret's face. Taker is walking gingerly now. Taker grabs an electrical cable and chokes Bret with it. The crowd boo, and Bearer has the ref distracted. Taker then ramps Bret into the ring bell before hitting him with a chair. Despite the noise of the bell, the referee stays distracted. The crowd now can't decide who to cheer or to boo. Bret goes to back to working on Taker's leg back in the ring before racking his leg around the ring post twice. More boos. Taker does a leg drop. Taker goes to the tombstone, but Bret wriggles free. Bret hits the DDT, but only for a 2. Undertaker sits up. Bret hits the Russian leg sweep. Undertaker sits up again. Bret hits a backbreaker, then drops an elbow from the second rope. The crowd whips up, but there's a lot of booing in with the cheering. Bret goes for the sharpshooter, but Taker puts a choke on. We then get double clothesline. Bret exposes the turnbuckle. He then rips off the mask off Taker's face. Taker actually looks more scary without it. Vince quite rightly points out that blows to the face will now have more of an impact. Right on cue, Bret rounds Taker's face into the exposed turnbuckle. More booing. Bret runs at Taker, who catches him in a tombstone and hits it. Taker pins Bret, but Diesel comes out, pulls the ref out of the ring. The ref calls for the bell, and it's all over. Brett gets disqualified, Taker wins, but Brett retains. Diesel looks pretty smug and flips the middle finger at Undertaker before walking back up the aisleway, and Taker follows him out. Chris?
The first thing I have to say about this match is, I know they said it on commentary, but I'm not sure if it really is, but it would surprise me that in the 5 and a bit years that Undertaker has been in the WWF now, and other than his debut, because obviously he, in the mystery match where he was debuted, he was against the Hart Foundation, I think this really is the only time these two have had a singles match together.
On television or pay-per-view.
And the clash of styles really worked. Taker's sort of big man, slow, methodical pace, and Brett's working down the leg, because obviously, you take the big man's legs out, melded so well together. I'm massively surprised that we've not seen these two before and together. But they worked so well. Brett, again, showing that he is an amazing in-ring competitor. Taker matching him, sort of, but obviously in his different way. I quite liked the finish with Diesel sort of coming out and pulling Brett off, or Undertaker off even, but I don't get what comes later on how Diesel then becomes number one contender.
Well, Diesel's owed his title match from losing it to Brett 2 months ago. That's where that comes from. The part of Diesel's beef with Undertaker is that Undertaker kind of jumped the queue in terms of getting a title match because he felt he deserved it. That bit makes sense.
Had the last month, didn't he?
Yeah, we're basically on a 2-month time delay when it comes to title rematches. That's kind of where we're at. Undertaker will get one in April probably. He might actually. Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chris in what he's saying. Obviously, two totally different, wrestling styles. But for that reason, I thought it was quite a dull match. In all honesty, I thought Bret Hart working over the leg of Undertaker went on for what seemed like forever and a day, and probably for that reason the match went on for far too long. I'm not quite sure if obviously Undertaker, whether he's used to a match this long, I'm not quite sure. I thought there was, it was a bit weird with both of them playing the heel, or maybe the Undertaker. Well, yeah, he was in fact, because he obviously got the cables out, didn't he? But obviously Paul Bearer was the one that was messing with the feet on the rope and everything like that. But then Bret Hart to then go and do the turnbuckle pad just seemed out of place. If just let Undertaker play the heel role. I'm not quite sure, but I did enjoy the spot where Taker kept getting back up after the Russian leg sweep and then the Bulldog and then we had a tombstone out of nowhere. But unfortunately, and it's a pay-per-view, but it's probably the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and it's another screwy finish at the end, which in my eyes is not acceptable.
Yeah, this match was 29 minutes, I think, and it felt them. This wasn't all that good. I mean, there was nothing necessarily bad in this match, but it was, the age-old thing, and I've had this before, where you do a really long match and then you have a drab finish. It really blows. Like, you have a drab finish in 3 or 4 minutes, like, short and sweet, nothing to see. To go so long and then not to have a decisive winner. Again, I come back to kind of what I came back to last year's Rumble when we had Diesel against Brett, which was, why didn't Diesel just win? I was kind of sat here going, why didn't Brett just win? Like, I know you've got Diesel Undertaker to build, but you can still do that. And Undertaker strikes as a guy that could bounce back from this match, result fairly smoothly. It's not like you've been doing a great job with Undertaker in this last 18 months, putting him with, admittedly, he's at least winning, but he's beating a lot of guys that don't matter. I don't think losing to Bret Hart is a big problem. The match was a disappointment in the sense that there was just too much submission-based work. I would have liked to see these guys stand up a bit more and do a bit more powerhouse action. You kind of felt like they both decided, we both got half a dozen moves, we've got half an hour, let's use each move once. Or it's like, you can be a bit more innovative. But Wayne, I guess my biggest problem with this is, you know, you're both experienced enough guys, and yet you're both getting booed. Like, something's wrong.
Yeah, and like I said before, I mean, maybe Bret Hart then decided to go with the with the heel role because he was getting booed. But yeah, like you say, you're two experienced guys. You know, they've been there long enough now. You know, they should have known to change it up at some point and go down a different avenue to get the crowd buying into it. Because yeah, it just seemed like there was like pretty much how I was at home really, and that was, is this still going? Is it not over yet? And you know, maybe that played some part in it.
And Chris, we've heard a few times before from people like Wade Keller that Undertaker is, you know, supposedly a very talented wrestler. Did we see that in this match?
I think we're seeing a lot more of it than Undertaker's traditional sort of match and traditional fodder. Go back to when we started this project and we had, Taker versus Giant Gonzalez.
Oof.
Taker versus fake zombie Taker. You know, we were getting Taker versus King Kong Bundy even last year. It was, let's put the monster against Taker. Yeah. And getting a terrible match, but just having this character. Whereas putting him in there with a Brett, you're actually seeing that he can wrestle. I think this is a mass improvement from what we have had from him over the past sort of 5 years of his career. Yeah, it reminds me more of what he was doing when he was me and Mark in WCW than any of this previous Taker run.
Yeah. I think he will only, he will only be able to show what he can do against guys like Brett, e.g. guys that can go with him, and two, he will only improve against guys like Brett, people who can go with him. But yeah, call me disappointed on this. I think, yeah, I actually, this match wasn't that bad, but I'm actually quite critical of the two guys involved, and I feel like you could and should have come up with something far stronger. I think they lost the crowd at one point. I think the fact that the crowd started booing them both at various times suggested something's wrong. And yeah, the match wasn't that bad, but if I'm Bret Hart and I'm Undertaker, I'm quite disappointed by what we came up with in 29 minutes. Not easy when you're wrestling to a dead end finish, fair enough, but it's like the match still could have been good for the first 20 odd minutes, and I don't think it was. Anyway, that will wrap up our analysis of the Royal Rumble. Wayne, some quick final thoughts and a score rating out of 10.
Wasn't overly impressed with the whole pay-per-view. You know, I thought it had a couple of, like I said at the start, a couple of alright matches, but the too many DQ finishes for a pay-per-view that people have actually paid for, and for that reason, I'm giving it a 4.
Chris?
I enjoyed it. I thought the finishes work for the way the matches are going and the feuds are going, and it's probably the best Rumble since '92. So I've given it 7 out of 10.
Interesting. Well, I said 6 at the start. I think I've actually talked myself, having gone through that main event, into downgrading it to a 5. Yeah, this is it's not a bad show. It's probably in the top third of WWF pay-per-views we've covered, which probably says a lot. The Rumble match was fine. I thought they did pretty well with that. But the rest of the matches are like, and we talk about star power, I wonder whether they're all that savvy having, you've got to have other matches on the card, but like, wouldn't Razor Ramon benefit from being in the Rumble? Wouldn't you benefit from that kind of star power? And Jeff Jarrett and people like that, having some more names in that match, even if they're wrestling twice, it's not like, none of the guys, if you're wrestling on the card, you don't gain an advantage from being in the Rumble, so you might as well be in it if the alternative is not being, even though you are at an inherent disadvantage. I think Razor Ramon would rather be in the match than not. 5 out of 10 show. I think you could, if you got 3 hours to kill and you want to watch a good show, I would say this isn't a bad show to watch. Equally, if you're thinking, but do I watch this, do I not? I'd probably say skip it. If you enjoy a Rumble match, you'll get a good, fun, decent Rumble, but it's not remarkable, and the rest of the stuff is very forgettable.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is headed to WrestleMania!
congratulations on your victory last night.
Well, the last thing I want to do is say, I told you so, Vin Man. But I told you so. HBK is back in the saddle again. A three-step program for the Heartbreak Kid. The 1996 Royal Rumble, done. WrestleMania, gonna happen. But between now and then, it seems that the Clique has a little something to handle. And that would be some young man running around the World Wrestling Federation taking credit for putting me out. First of all, there are 9 guys in Syracuse, New York that get to take credit for that. And you 9 chumps, I'll take care of you in due time. But the other one is you, Owen Hart. Nobody talks trash in the World Wrestling Federation except me. Because HBK and his clique are going to their dream, the World Wrestling Federation Championship. But Owen, I gotta take care of you.
What is the meaning of this? Are you coming out here to apologize for what Vader did? What?
No, I'll tell you, first of all, I've had enough trouble tonight. I didn't come out here to get beat up, okay? I'm just saying to you, you're bandying Owen Hart's name around, and if you want Owen Hart, you got to talk to me because I'm the one signing his contracts, okay? Now, it seems to me like Owen Hart's already proven his point. You can blame whoever you want, but Owen Hart is the one that knocked you out of commission and almost finished you off.
Hang on a second. How did it feel last night when you saw Shawn Michaels dump Yokozuna and Vader over the top rope? How did it feel last night at the Royal Rumble when Shawn Michaels dumped you over the top rope?
Let me tell you something, you gargle that Drano all you want, but the point I'm making to you, fella, is I don't want you putting your hands on me or my men anymore. Owen Hart has proved his point. He beat you, and there's no incentive, no reason for him to give you another match. And for now and forevermore, Owen Hart will be known as the guy that knocked the Heartbreak Kid out of business. Yeah, we got nothing that we want to give you another match.
Now, if you want Jim Cornette, I can go back to the back and get my wallet. I'll give you money. I'll give you anything you want. But I'm telling you, I gotta have Owen Hart. I'd do anything in the world to get my hands on Owen Hart.
Now, let me tell you something. You don't have enough money. I don't care what you...
Make him get down on his knees.
Did you say anything?
Anything.
Well, you maybe got one thing that Owen Hart wants. You won the Royal Rumble. That means you got the title shot at WrestleMania. And you worked for 12 years to get it. So that's your most prized possession. I say Owen Hart ought to have that shot. So if you want Owen Hart in the ring, you can put that title shot up, and then we'll talk some business.
Whoa.
Oh, shut up, don't tell him what to do.
He did say anything.
Good idea.
Now, I realize I said anything, but you better understand something. I have waited 11 long years for the chance that I have given myself. I went through 29 superstars. Hey.
I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you've waited for. You made the statement. If you're chicken, say you're chicken. If you're a mouse, squeak or put up the shot for Owen Hart.
Well, let me ask the clique. How bad do we want Owen Hart? Well, if the clique wants it, they get it. And you, my friend, have got it.
Good.
And when I'm done with Owen Hart, I am going to do to him what I am about to do to you.
We open Raw on January the 22nd with Jim Cornette interrupting Savio Vega's entrance. What time is it? It's Vader time. Vader completes a comprehensive victory over Vader with a Vader bomb. After the match ends, Cornette traps the referee and Vader does another Vader bomb. The ref gets free, but Vader grabs hold of him and hits him with multiple headbutts before throwing him to the outside. The ref this time gets a powerbomb before Gorilla Monsoon comes out. They square off and exchange words. Monsoon gets the ring announcer to say that Vader is indefinitely suspended. Vader shoves Cornette, then squares up to Monsoon again. He says to Cornette, "You're supposed to handle this kind of stuff." Vader slaps Monsoon. Monsoon responds with multiple chops. Vader charges at Monsoon in the corner, squashes him with a splash, and then drops an elbow. He drags him to the corner, then hits a Vader bomb. Eventually, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon run out, and Vader makes his exit. Back from the break, we get Vader backstage. He says he's declaring war on every WWF wrestler and official, and that includes you, Mr. McMahon, and you, Mr. Vader was never great with promos. I think he was referring to King. Vader then smashes up a bin. Hunter Hearst Helmsley's out next, accompanied by model Shay Marks to the ring. He has quite a decent match with Razor Ramon. The Kid gets involved, using a giant baby's bottle to feed Razor, if you will, before spitting at him. Razor chases him around ringside, but ends up being counted out. He then detects the Razor Edge Helmsley, but he scarpers into the arms of Shay Marks, and they leave together. For comedic purposes, the final episode of Billionaire Ted. Ted says he had become successful by buying old content and repackaging it, but he's tired of stealing old wrestlers. He wants the board to try and come up with one original idea. Scheme Gene eventually breaks the silence. He says he's got a great idea, but you'll have to call his hotline to find out more. The WWF, not full of cheap imitations. Shawn Michaels is out for an in-ring interview with Vince McMahon. He says he's got a 3-step program for 1996. The first one, win the Rumble. That's done. The second will come at WrestleMania. The third, well, the Clique has got some business to handle. There's a young man going around the World Wrestling Federation taking credit for pushing me out. Michaels says the 9 chumps in New York will be dealt with in due time, but he wants Owen Hart. Jim Cornette interrupts him. He says if Shawn wants Owen, he'll have to go through him. For now and forevermore, Owen Hart will be known as the man who took out Shawn Michaels. No match. Shawn says he's willing to do anything in the world to get his hands on Owen Hart. Cornette then suggests that Shawn puts his title shot up in a match against Owen. Shawn says he's waited 11 years for this chance. Well, you forget his match last year anyway. Shawn asks the Clique, in this case the fans, how bad do they want Hart. The crowd respond positively, and what the Clique wants, the Clique gets. Goldust is out for a champion versus champion match with Bret Hart. His valet has a name now, Marlena. Bret is sporting a lovely black eye, so is Goldust, I suppose. Mid-match, Marlena leads Goldust towards the back, but Razor levels Goldust and returns into the ring. As far as I'm aware, the first noise of Diesel's match with Bret Hart next month in your house came from a panicked Vince McMahon while Bret was logging in the sharpshooter. Goldust submits. Bret then says his fans were robbed by a decision by Diesel. Bret wants a rematch with Diesel inside a 15-foot high steel cage, so he has no more excuses. On to January the 29th, we get a rematch of the In Your House 4 main event with Diesel against British Bulldog. Yokozuna walks out during the match and gets a sucker punch in on Diesel. Later in the match, he attempts to break up a pin with a leg drop. Diesel moves, Yoko leg drops Bulldog, and Diesel wins the match. An update with Doc Hendricks references the Eric Bischoff phone call to Vince McMahon that we will outline in a few minutes, along with a letter he sent to Vince McMahon. Not surprisingly, he isn't mentioned by name. Hendricks says, in the WWF they will fight for the right for their company and their fans. We cut to a Billionaire Ted press conference with the Nacho Man and the Huckster. Billionaire Ted says, contrary to what the World Wrestling Federation says, he's not a hillbilly. A journalist asks whether they're trying to put the WWF out of business. He refuses to answer. Another asks about whether he undercuts the WWF's advertising rates. Again, no response. Isn't it true that he put his primetime show head-to-head with Raw to hurt the WWF? Isn't it true he could have put the show in another time slot? You don't care about the fans, you're trying to run the WWF out of business. This is just the general chat from the people in attendance. He wants to squish them like a bug. The next question asks who's going to win the match between Nacho Man and the Huckster at WrestleMania. Huckster leans in and says it's in his contract that he never loses, which is quite ironic given that if you were actually tuning to Nitro at the time this was airing, you'd actually be seeing Hogan lose to Flair. But that is said to be purely a coincidence, nothing more, nothing less. Henry O'Gowan and his tag team partner Hank defeat the Body Donners. Clarence Mason is back. He says Vader has a very good case for self-defense. A graphic on the screen says, "Get well, Gorilla," along with an address you can send mail to. After the commercial, we're back with what now presumably the acting interim WWF president. It's Roddy Piper. Piper wants to know if this makes him Vince's boss. Piper praises the new generation. These guys are faster, stronger and smarter. But they're a bit confused. Piper wants to introduce some rules, for Vince points out that he never lived by rules in his life. Everyone has to pay the Piper, and Vince is no different. Piper picks him up for an airplane spin. We get a vignette from Cactus Jack. King thinks his name is Mankind. The video is focused on his missing ear. In the main event, Shawn Michaels slays Yokozuna after a decent match with the sweet chin music. After the match, Bulldog, Yokozuna, Owen Hart back Shawn into a corner, but Diesel comes out to even things up. Cornette says there is no dissension amongst his men. He then challenges Shawn and Diesel to a tag match against Yokozuna and Bulldog next week. The two do wobbly hand gestures towards Cornette, appearing to accept, and Owen wants to know why he's not involved.
And I think we have standing by Jim Cornette, allegedly standing by with Vader to try and... All right, what's going on? Tell us. Give us some explanation.
Listen to me. Vader is declaring war on every wrestler in the WWF and every official, and that includes you, Mr. McMahon and Mr.
What he's trying to say,
And we start our discussion really for the rest of the show. We'll start with the Vader angle on the Raw the night after the Rumble. Wayne, I thought this was really good.
I thought it was fantastic. This is what you'd expect from Vader. You know, we've seen a lot of him in WCW, and you know, I wouldn't expect anything else. I would have expected it in a bit more the night before, but you know, to come in on a Monday Night Raw and to do this and to dominate Vega, and then obviously Vader bomb, and then manhandle the referees, and then when Monsoon come in, when Monsoon took his glasses off and they went eye for eye, and Vader backed off a little bit. I was quite surprised by that, but then obviously the tables turned and Vader just taught him a lesson really. Everything from start to finish off this segment alone was absolutely brilliant.
Chris?
As we said in the Rumble bit, I love Vader, and the fact that he absolutely annihilated Savio Vega was great. Then to put over how big and strong he is, yeah, we know the referees are smaller guys, but lobbing them around like they literally were children was great. Obviously, I'm not sure what it is that's wrong with Vader, which is why he's having obviously to
shoulder surgery
so quickly. But it's a great way to put him out of the story, and it gives you something definite to bring him straight back in with when he comes back. Because obviously you've got straight away the anti-authority side of it. You can have him sort of go against, he's already a massive heel and go against any of your baby faces. But it also sort of is the perfect way to write someone off TV and not harm them at all. It's not, they're being put out of commission or anything like that. He has been suspended because he is a monster.
Yeah, I think you'd have to go back 18 months to that Bob Backlund segment with Lou Gianfredo, the WWF magazine writer, the kind of September, October 94, since to find an angle this good, and I don't think that was as good as this. This is a really, really good segment. And I think one of the great things is that because we don't see it'd be a very easy thing to do to have wrestlers, put their hands on, you look at Brian Pillman in volume 2 of this month's show. It'd be very easy to have wrestlers put their hands on non-wrestling people, and it's, an easy way to generate heat, but the kind of thing that you could overdo very quickly and devalue. The fact that we generally don't see referees getting hit beyond in matches, and the fact that Gorilla Monsoon came out and was willing to take that kind of punishment, Very, very effective. I thought did a tremendous job. It's a fantastic way to introduce Vader. I mean, you know, as I said last month, part of it is Vader is going to come out and people are going to go, whoa. Like, you know, this isn't one of the other guys. This is the guy that has a visual impact when he comes in. I mentioned kind of Terry Funk, and it's like, well, people don't know who he is. He just looks like an old man. With Vader, it's different. You don't have to know who Vader is to be immediately kind of awestruck by him. The segment was fantastic. It was quite timely, given that the following night, on the Clash of the Champions, Paul Orndorff indirectly mentions him about, you know, beating down a 450-pound gorilla, and getting back up and stomping him in the face. I suspect that was quite well timed by WCW's part as well. But WWF have got a star here. We talk about their lack of heel depth. They've still got that. You know, we're looking at their top 2 matches at WrestleMania effectively being all babyface matches. Assuming it's Brett and Shawn and Diesel and Undertaker, I think that's what it's going to be. They need heels. I don't know how long Vader's going to be out for, but he will come back in as number 1, and quite rightly so, and they've still got their issue where, you know, they need to build out other guys. But we can transition, Chris, quite nicely into they need heels. They've just introduced Steve Austin. I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't a magician, the Ringmaster character, and it is a bit generic, you know, but he did get a promo in this month. He sounded quite good. And as we heard in the intro, Cactus Jack is coming in. I don't think he's really called Cactus Jack, but he's coming in as well. 2 guys that, if they're clever enough, and it would be an interesting nod to WCW to say, we're going to make 3 of your heels from the last 2 years our 1, 2, 3. Not 1, 2, 3 kid, 1, 2 and 3. But Chris, I'm fully behind it. You know, if they're going to recognise star power and talent that WCW, I think, to an extent, with certainly Austin and Jack, I think they got their money's worth out of Vader. I think they're more power to them.
The thing with what, by the looks of it, they're doing with Cactus, we obviously don't know where that's going to go, but they're starting it perfectly because they're using his best attribute, which is his talking ability. And I don't know what the plan is for Jack, or what they're going to do with him, and what this character will be, because no doubt it won't be the Cactus Jack that we've seen in ECW. But if he's going to have a month, 2 months of tiny little vignettes, promos to build something, I would back him to the hilt that he'll do it and do it well. Austin, I'm a little bit worried about him being with the $1 Million Man, looking at, you know, the rest of the $1 Million Corporation, and it basically being
a bunch of losers.
Yeah, it's a jobber heel stable. I would probably not want to be near $1 Million Man, but
it's something.
It's something to bring him in.
And a lot of guys join the $1 Million Corporation as losers, I suppose. As in, Austin hasn't been beaten yet. He had a good showing at the Rumble. Yeah. It could be worse, I guess. I mean, the Ringmaster is a pretty awful name. I know, I joke about it sounding like a magician. I mean, it sounds like a gimmick out of the 1950s, you know what I mean? It sounds like a mid-card Arn Anderson type gimmick, you know, he's the Ringmaster, he's just a good worker. It's like, okay.
They have already used his proper name, so whether they're not planning on keeping him as the Ringmaster for too long.
Yeah, I found it interesting, because on debut they didn't call him Steve Austin, he was the Ringmaster. I was listening quite close to see if they referenced it. And then he comes out of the Rumble and Vince McMahon is like, oh yeah, this is Steve Austin, the Ringmaster. It's like, okay, there's a little bit of incoherence there. I agree on Cactus Jack though, he is you have to look at our awards last year, he is a phenomenal talker. He is probably the best in the business right now. I kind of said to Ric Flair, go and cut some of those promos you were cutting 10 years ago, and I'll bring you back into the discussion. You're not hitting these averages at the moment. And yeah, I will be inclined not to debut him until after WrestleMania. As much as they need heels, I know that he certainly hasn't finished with ECW yet. And we know, as we've seen with the likes of the Public Enemy, I think Paul Heyman is quite keen, where he's got leverage, to have guys play out a natural story arc before they leave, where he can. And I think to a point, Cactus Jack, they've been talking with him for months, I think, so I get the sense to a point that they'll let that story play out. If he comes back in after WrestleMania, I think that's a big plus. Wayne, I know you haven't seen a lot of Cactus Jack beyond kind of hearing the promos, but I guess the question is more related to Austin. What do you think of these two signings?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more we can say about Cactus Jack that we haven't already said. 95 was an absolute phenomenal year for him, and an absolute coup for WWF that they've got him, because this guy is a great talker and can really come off as a really as a really good heel, which, like we've said already, is what we need. But yeah, I'm a bit reserved with Austin at the moment. He's come in and, like you said, he's got a non-generic gimmick. It's, the Ringmaster. I mean, what is it? Is, Master of the Ring?
I think that is what it is.
Right. Well,
I think that is the idea.
I'll tell you what it is. It's stupid. Just have him in as Steve Austin. We all know who he is. So
it'd be like calling Aldo Montoya the Jobber.
Well,
if we started labelling wrestlers by their legitimate roles in the company, that's kind of what it's like.
They Jock Trap Barry Horowitz
Jock Trap Monkey?
Yeah, Aldo Montoya, the Jock Trap Monkey.
Oh.
Jock Trap on his head.
Yeah, alright.
Well, they do call Barry Horowitz the underdog, which he plays on as well, doesn't it? So yeah, I suppose. But yeah, obviously to go back to Austin, a bit reserved, bit of a crap character, but it's also a bit reserved the fact that he's joining the $1 million corporation, which it stinks with losers. But the one positive I'd probably take out of it is they've put that. It doesn't really mean anything, but they've put that $1 million title on him. They've given him something to hold and to talk about, and give him a bit of prominence on the roster. And we all know that he can talk, so there's no doubt that he'll probably be able to talk his way out of this character and be Steve Austin that we all know from whether it's ECW or whether it's going back to WCW. So I think they've done really well in getting these, and we're going to go on to the Billionaire Ted segments in a minute, and I think there's no other better way to stick it to the likes of WCW to turn what they thought was non-stars into actual stars, rather than stupid segments like Billionaire Ted.
Well segued.
4 months after the beginning of WCW Monday Nitro, the WWF fired what can be considered its first barrels of the battle with a series of segments airing on Monday Night Raw called Billionaire Ted's Wrestling War Room. The segments, which were not only hyped as major events on each of the shows, also closed both New Year's Day and January 8th Raws. They were presented as mock segments, with actors dressed up to play Ted Turner as Billionaire Ted, Hulk Hogan as the Huckster, and Randy Savage as the Nacho Man, along with some executives. Conspicuous by his absence, and potentially good illustration about how the WWF and Vince McMahon want to frame the rivalry, was Eric Bischoff. Also parodied during the month, although not directly involved in the segments, was Mean Gene Okerlund as Scheme Gene. The New Year's Day segment saw Billionaire Ted appeal to his board, along with the Huckster and the Nacho Man, about wanting to see more action. Clips played of the Razor's Edge before an exec asked Hogan whether he could pull off the move. "No way, brother," came the response. Nacho Man was similarly as negative when asked if he could replicate Ahmed Johnson's Tiger Bomb. The final clip showed Shawn Michaels throwing himself off a ladder. "Brother, at my age, my feet don't leave the ground." Turner then asked what the pair could do, with Huckster and Nacho Man standing up and doing trademark poses. The segment signed off with the WWF New Generation, on top of the hill, not over it. Things really heated up on January the 8th, with the War Room once again in the closing spot on the show. This time, Billionaire Ted wanted a new catchphrase. They threw around ideas before Nacho Man suggested that the "Where the Big Boys Play" slogan may fall down if they were made to take a legitimate drug test. This segment ended with a line saying, "WWF, there's nothing old or unofficial here." Of course, this is only true if we ignore Sonny's boob job, which was quite prominently featured the following week. After the segment, the WWF posted the following on their America Online service. The WWF is concerned about the health and well-being of its talent. Although on tonight's Raw programme we used satire to demonstrate a point about the WWF steroid policy as opposed to Ted Turner's WCW, we realised that the use of steroids and other drugs of abuse is a serious issue and can pose health risks. Therefore, in a personal letter to Ted last week, I challenged him in the interest of the health and well-being of all of his athletes under his umbrella, as well as mine, to implement a policy which would adhere to the same strict standards which the WWF adopted several years ago. It then suggested that both companies should jointly choose an independent testing agency. In the WCW volume of this month's show, we will detail their response to all of this much more, but 2 pieces of communication from Eric Bischoff, who wasn't acknowledged by name, did make it to air. The first was an answer phone message Bischoff left after the January 15th ratings came in and Nitro scored a big win, expressing his delight at the Billionaire Ted segments. The second part was a letter dated January the 23rd, Bischoff responding to letters sent by McMahon to Ted Turner and one from lawyer Jerry McDevitt. Bischoff's letter read that although the segments were initially mildly amusing, they had become defamatory and disparaging to WCW and its wrestlers. It ended by saying WCW has a comprehensive substance abuse policy which includes drug testing before declining the invitation to join forces on this. As for whether these segments would likely put the company in any legal hot water, it said that the WWF will be using the defence of satire and parody, and the likely fact that any WCW case would likely be unsuccessful.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a statement I'd like to read. Contrary to what the World Wrestling Federation may like you to believe, I am not a hillbilly, and I don't wear cheap suits. Now, question, please. Yeah, who's right here? Yeah.
Billionaire Ted, isn't it true you and your $4 billion conglomerate are trying to put the World Wrestling Federation out of business?
I'm not going to answer that question. Next question. Oh, yeah, right here, yeah.
Billionaire Ted, is it true you provide double the programming of the WWF, yet you purposely undercut their advertising rates?
I'm not going to answer that question either. The facts speak for themselves. Next question. All right, right over here.
Billionaire Ted,
yeah.
Isn't it true you put your primetime imitation of Monday Night Raw head-to-head with Raw to hurt the WWF?
Yeah, you're a pretty smart fella, aren't you? Yeah, good. Next question. Yeah, young lady.
Billionaire Ted, since you own networks, isn't it true you could have placed your primetime wrestling show on at another time? Or even another night of the week? Don't you think the fans would have preferred that?
Well, yeah, you're a pretty smart reporter, too. Hey, listen, why don't y'all come work for me? You know, I own a news network, too. You'd be great. It's, next question. All right, yeah, right back here, yeah.
So let's face it, Billionaire Ted, you really don't care about the fans. You're just trying to run the WWF out of business, aren't you?
Well, it's like I told Rupert Murdoch, I'll squish them like a bug. Yeah, all right. Next question. Right here, yeah.
Gotcha, man. Speaking of squishing someone like a bug, who do you think is going to win your match with the Huckster at WrestleMania?
Oh, thinking. Wait, brother. It's in my contract with Billionaire Ted that I never lose. Yeah.
Listen, why don't we take another question real quick here, yeah? Right over here, yeah.
Billionaire Ted, back to the question agreed. What wouldn't you do to put the WWF out of business?
Well, hell, I won't use my own money. I mean, that'd be just out of... What? Say it. Is something wrong, or what? Jane, where's my lithium?
Chris, talk us through this.
Well, where do you start with the wrestling war room? It's very low blow satire of.
Do you mean low brow?
Yes.
Yeah, low blow. I was like, okay. I wonder where he's going to go.
Where it is, let's see the obvious things that's wrong with them, and let's point and make fun of it. You know, the fact that Ted Turner is Southern, the fact that, you know, he signed these guys that were big in the 80s, and that Turner's idea to sort everything is throw money at it. You know, we've seen that with the fact that he just bought a news company, he bought all the old films to do his film channel, he bought old cartoons for his cartoon channels. You know, his thing is, if I like it, I'll just buy it. And you know, it is comedy at the lowest common denominator. Is let's find the obvious thing and point at it. But it's quite funny to watch.
Wayne?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think it seems really petty. I think one of the things we were talking about when we was doing the WCW reviews is, you know, they're giving results away and other things that that WCW doing, and I think, you know, just focus on your own product, just focus on your own guys, you know, be proud of what you've got, and you know, don't worry about the competition. You know, just focus on what you're doing. There's no point going on and doing these, you know, stupid segments, you know, obviously with Ted Turner and you know, the rip-off Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. However, I'd probably say the Scheme Gene parts did actually make me laugh. I did actually like them. Just poking fun at the, you know, yeah, I'm kind of obviously going against what I'm saying here, but you know, it did make me chuckle a little that they went on about the, you know, the hotline, and how they'd already announced that Vader was going to make an appearance in the Royal Rumble, and then, you know, through one of the Raws, Scheme Gene was making out that he had this big announcement of who was going to be making an appearance, and then right at the end it was like, yeah, it's going to be Vader, and then Vince was like, we already know, and then it just goes off. You know, that did just make me chuckle. But, you know, going on about, you know, Hulk Hogan, just let them be. You know, they've gone over there now. Just let them be and just focus on what you're doing and moving forward in that way.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Scheme Gene stuff. That was a lot of fun. I think that they got that bit right anyway. I will give, I don't know if credit's the right word. I have a lot of admiration for them for finally firing a bullet back. I kind of feel like you can only sit there and get the piss beaten out of you. Not piss beaten out of you. You can only sit there and take so much verbal abuse before you eventually snap and fight back, or before eventually you've got to say something, because otherwise you look like you're just a bit of a pussy. You know what I mean? That being said, I don't know that this was the answer. I don't know that burning bridges with Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage was a good idea. Hulk Hogan's contract will be up at the end of this year. Who knows where we will be in 12 months' time, but if, you know, Hogan will probably go and talk to WWF, if for nothing else, to get a bit of leverage so he can get a bit more money. We know what Hogan's like. And if there's any interest there from Hogan's side, I don't know, this has kind of helped. And equally, forget that, say you can bring back Hogan and Savage in 12 months' time. You've just told your audience they're over the hill. I don't know that you can go back on this now. This wasn't like a one-off thing. This wasn't a comment from Vince McMahon on commentary. This is week after week after week on television. They want to do this match at WrestleMania, Nacho Man and the Huckster. I don't know whether we'll get that far. But it's like, yeah, you may get to the point very soon where you're at the point of no return. There's that. But equally, Chris, this all is going on in the backdrop of the WWF trying to sign the Ultimate Warrior, who in many ways encapsulates everything that they'll be ribbing WCW about if the Ultimate Warrior was winning WCW.
Yeah, that is a massive contradiction. We don't want the roided up egos from the 80s, so we're going to go and sign quite possibly the biggest ego.
The biggest roided up guy of them all.
Yeah, who basically already has burnt bridges with what he did at SummerSlam 91, where he decided, I don't want to go out there unless you give me a pay rise and give me more money right this second. You know, we've already got previous with him and his no showing, and he's a liability, he doesn't turn up for dates. I don't see what the benefit is with going this way, especially if you're trying to push this whole new generation and trying to build these new guys. Of all of the people from the 80s, he's the one I definitely wouldn't go near. If anything, I'd have probably gone back after Macho Man and got Macho Man back, because he can still work.
Well, when he's not injured. He says as Macho Man is currently still their champ, or their champion once again. I kind of agree with Wayne on the sentiment that I kind of feel like the far better way of sticking it to WCW would kind of be taking all the talent they don't want and turning them into stars. I think that's the better way to fire back. It's less impactful. It's less newsworthy to a point. I don't know how you could spin the Steve Austin promo from ECW and make it WWF relevant, friendly, viable. I don't know how you can do that, but I wonder whether that would have worked. Like, get a guy like Austin in and just, and also you can't be his insider, and, I guess to a point you don't want to say, well, I wasn't good enough to make it in WCW, I'm now going to make it in WWF, I suppose. But wait, I don't know that this was the answer to the question of how do we fire a shot back at WCW. And a second point for you, Wayne, airing the Eric Bischoff letter was a different step. I don't think you've seen that, because I don't think you haven't seen the final episode of the month. But they had a screenshot on the final episode. They basically had a photo on the final episode of Raw of the Month of a letter sent by Eric Bischoff to Vince McMahon. Like, we're going way over, 1980s style wrestling storytelling here. We're going way beyond that.
Yeah, well, it's it seems it's like we're taking a more realistic stance on it now. It's everything, whether it's shots being fired, and like I said, I wasn't aware of this letter. What does the letter contain? Just
it's not a lot. It's basically we recapped it in the audio piece that the Stu read out a few minutes ago. Basically, it's a general kind of, he starts off by saying, while we initially enjoyed the segments, because there's a great bit, well, obviously, they mention it on TV, but there's a thing earlier this month where Bischoff rings up Vince McMahon, gets through to his, I think it's his secretary, and says, we just beat you by a whole point in the ratings, keep going with this. And then the letter says, while we initially found it funny, we're getting to the point now where it's a bit boring, it's a bit, it's a bit legally on wobbly ground. I don't think WCW are going to sue, I don't think they can. And then he basically ends up by saying, we've got a very good steroid testing, a very good substance abuse policy, should I say. And that's really it. So it's a fairly boring letter. They don't read it out. It's not on screen very long. You only know these contexts really if you're able to, if you've got a recording of it, you can pause it. But yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like, this is going over 95% of your audience's head. Maybe less with the Hogan and Savage stuff, because, a lot of them know Hogan and Savage, and you can infer we're calling them old by what they're saying. But I don't know that the stuff with the Bischoff letter and the stuff with the drug testing, I don't know that's hitting enough of your audience to be worthwhile.
No, I totally agree. I mean, like you said, he's probably going to go over the majority of the viewers' heads, whether any of them are going to know what a steroid trial is, whether any of them would have known about how they're obviously going to know how big they were in the 80s, but obviously how the relationship that they had, and obviously going over to WCW. I think they're just breaking out of storyline mode, and I don't think it's necessary.
And Chris, just reminding people that Hogan and Savage are on the other channel.
The thing is, with that, there are territories that don't get WCW. So the fact they're not seeing Hogan and Macho Man, they're not there anymore. It doesn't mean anything. But to sort of promote the fact that they are on a different company, is that giving them the promotion that people actually go out and try and find them?
Because it's not like this athleticism is drawing. It's not like Shawn Michaels flinging himself off the bar. Bad example. It's not like Ahmed Johnson's Tiger Bomb is drawing crowds. It's all well and good saying we've got all these athletes, but it's like, yeah, but they've got the stars. They've got people I'm invested in, or at least I was. I don't know. It's as I say, I give them a lot of credit for firing a shot for more than one, 5 if you like. I just don't know whether it started off as we need to fight back, and it ended up being a manifestation of Vince McMahon's anxieties and his fears about Ted Turner, all this other stuff. Fascinating that Eric Bischoff, other than you can see his name in the corner of that letter, Eric Bischoff does not feature in any of these segments. I think it says a lot about how Vince McMahon sees this battle, this rivalry. There's a lot of stuff that's gone on between him and Ted Turner in the past. A lot of it is aired in the press. More than it's been about wrestling, it's more been about Vince firing shots and Ted saying the odd thing back at an opportune time. It says a lot about Vince McMahon that this is him against Ted Turner, not him against Eric Bischoff, when if you watch WCW, if you're paid to watching both, you'd kind of be like, who's Ted Turner? Like, you know, alright, if you're not ignorant, if you know about it, you know he was, and to a point Turner is a celebrity in his own right, owning such a media conglomerate. But you watch Monday Nitro, Ted Turner isn't part of the show. He's not referenced, you know, they're not saying, thank you Lord Turner for giving us this hour of television every Monday night. The front of it is to a point Eric Bischoff, and I don't know whether, you know, I don't think people are sat watching WCW and thinking, oh, Nick Bockwinkel is the main guy, but they're not sat there thinking Ted Turner is either. We haven't seen Turner on WCW television, I think, in 18 months, when it was the Hogan Flair contract signing back ahead of Bash at the Beach all those yonks ago. I may be wrong on that, but we haven't seen him a lot. I think that's interesting. But anyway, that's where we will end this month's show. I'd like to thank firstly Wayne Lythgoe.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Wayne, you can be found on Twitter.
I can be found on WayneL84.
And Chris Lacey.
Very much, Bob.
Chris, tell us where you can find you on Twitter and your WCW podcast.
I am on Twitter personally at Lacey555666, and you can find the podcast Super Balls, where we have just got into 1991, which, oh my god, is a year of joy and absolute craziness in WCW. The first episode went up, of 91 went up last week, and hopefully, touch wood, next episode should be out this coming weekend. It's just Wrestle War 91 with the infamous Sid powerbombing Brian Pillman into the top of the War Games cell. You can find that on iTunes, search Super Brawls, we're on Podbeam as well. And if you search Super Rules on Twitter and Facebook, you can find us on there too.
You're catching up with us fairly quickly. We'll be at the Battle Bowl anytime soon. I'm looking forward to that show.
We've got you ready to come in for when we get there.
Excellent. So, but yeah, we've done the Battle Bowl thing before. And I can't wait to watch it again. Yes. What you got to look forward to? Volume 2, WCW. Looking at the Clash of Champions, looking at Randy Savage defeating Ric Flair for the title. We're looking at the WCW angle on the Billionaire Ted stuff. You'll find out about some of their reactions, some paranoid and very interesting. ECW in Volume 3, Buna McGillicuddy is now pregnant. That is a segment to behold.
Someone got in her box.
Yeah, well referenced. There is also a very, very kind of awe-striking moment when the Eliminators do their total elimination finisher on Francine. I never heard quite such a hush over the ECW arena before as when that happened. And also the small matter of Raven winning the ECW Heavyweight Championships. You've got all that to look forward to on the rest of the shows. You can everything's on Wrestling20YRS.com. If you're on iTunes, subscribe there, leave us a rating and a review. And that'll do that. I've been Bob Bamber. This has been Volume 1 of the January 1996 edition of the Wrestling 20 Years Ago podcast. And until next time, goodbye.